Hi, my name is Michael Bazushko. I'm an information literacy librarian over in Kent Library here at SEMO. And since some of you might be using AI in your classes, if your instructor allows it, I wanted to talk a little bit about what does AI know and how does it know the things that it knows. There's a few things we should think about if we're going to be using AI in our classes. So first of all, if you are going to be using AI, always check your syllabus. Your instructor has provided some instruction as to whether you can use it and when you can use it. And double check with your instructor to make sure that you understand what it says in the syllabus. And when I talk about using AI, I'm mostly talking about using things like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, or Claude. So AI knows a lot, and not everything that AI knows is true. So you might already know that, but AI, how did it learn what it learned? It's read a lot of books, it's seen a lot of news, it's read academic journal articles, it's watched online videos, it's gone on a lot of forums, and it's gone on social media as well. So as you can imagine, not everything that it's read is true or accurate, and not all of it should you use in your research. So one way of thinking about this, I think Quick Draw is a fun way of exploring this idea. Quick Draw by Google shows how these machines learn based on the information that it is given. So it learns what broccoli looks like, for instance, by what people like myself draw when they get this prompt. So it's asking me to draw some broccoli. So I'm going to draw some broccoli. I am not an artist, so I'm just going to draw this, but it understands. It says, I think that's broccoli. A compass, that's a little easier. Now, let's say with this one, I don't know what a flip-flop is, or I don't know how to draw a flip-flop, or maybe I misread it. For some reason, I think that it wants me to draw a car. And then maybe at this point, I think, why isn't it getting it? I got a car. And then I think, oh no, I was supposed to be drawing a flip-flop. My bad, entirely my bad there. But the nice thing about this is that if I click on flip-flop, we can see what other people drew. And you can see most of the time when people are asked to draw flip-flop, it gets this sort of information. So the AI now knows most of the time if it says, oh, you want a flip-flop? Well, I can draw what is probably looking a bit like a flip-flop. It looked like what I drew was a car, but now it doesn't know that I didn't draw a flip-flop. It thinks that I tried to draw a flip-flop. So that's why sometimes when you ask ChatGPT for information and it gives you something very strange, it's because 99 out of 100 times it thinks that a flip-flop looks like this. But 1 out of 100 times it thinks a flip-flop looks a bit like a car. And that's why it gives you information sometimes that seems to not make any sense at all. So when using these products, it's important to know that AI knows a lot, that not everything it knows is true. Sometimes it gives you that information that's not accurate. So a few rules when using AI. Always track down the original information. You can't cite the AI, but if you can track down where it got its information, you could cite that. Thankfully, a lot of these utilities have sources now, a little sources button. So if I click on the sources button, it'll show me where the information came from. And I can decide whether I think that's a reliable place to get information. Also, if you can't identify a source, you cannot use the information. So if it's just from AI and you can't find where it got that information, you're not really going to be able to use that information in an academic way. So remember to check your syllabus, check with your instructor, make sure they're okay with the way you're using these products. And if you have more questions that your instructor can't answer, get in touch with a librarian. There's a little Ask Us button at the top of the library page. You can come in person. We're usually at the front desk. Send us an email. Lots of ways to get in touch. But good luck. Make sure you check that syllabus and check with your instructor.